Hello and welcome to IABM TV. I'm Lorenzo Zanni, Head of Insight and Analysis at IABM. Today we're going to have a look at support, and we are joined by Martin Holmes, NA Senior Business Development Manager at Rohde Schwarz, Saleha Williams, Digital Partner of Media and Technology at Cognizant, and Mandeep Sehmi, Director of Product Solutions at Deluxe. So I'm going to start from the very general, starting from you, Mandeep. So what do you see as the main drivers of change in support?
So I think the biggest change that we've come across is now that the solutions we build are all software based, right? So I think at my time at my previous company, which is 2 years ago, it was all hardware based solutions, lots of infrastructure. You could go into a server room and actually fix what the issue was, right? You could restart, you can repurpose the equipment. Now we're building solutions leveraging cloud technologies such as AWS, Microsoft, Google. It's that whole shift in DevOps principles, right? How do I fix something when I can't actually access it physically, right? And I think that's a really, really big change in mentality as well as skill set.
Yeah, thanks for that. Saleha?
So I completely agree with Mandeep. I think moving to an agile software environment is absolutely critical. A lot of the clients that Cognizant is working with, we're focusing on how they are utilizing the cloud, but also then in terms of data and the analytics and decision making that can go behind that to enable their businesses to move more swiftly. So whether that's quicker production, quicker delivery, being able to speed up that process, but also pull out the cost in doing that, as well as look at the ROI on the investments that they are making into their technologies as a software-based solution going forward.
Yeah, I heard that a lot today, speed and efficiency. Yeah. That's definitely a focus. Martin?
So the sort of the relentless push to move from where we are to where we've got to go or where we've been, the transition from an all SDI connected plant to a hybridized IP-based plant with cloud-based operations or on-prem based operations certainly brings with it the stuff that Mandeep was talking about, where we have a skill set discrepancy, and we have a human being problems that we've got to get from one place to another. The industry's got to go there, and we've got to help them.
Yeah, so let's stay a little bit on this. Martin, on IP, how do you see IP adoption in support at the moment? What are the main challenges preventing your customers from adopting IP?
There seems to be a relentless pressure to deliver IP-based solutions for a myriad of tools that everybody makes. The difficulty is there's a human problem, and there's a transparency problem with something like 2110. Where actually you need the other tools wrapped around 2110 to make it work. ISO 4, ISO 5, the self-discovery sorts of tools. The real issues come, I think, when we're used to working in a way, you go destination 3, source 1, take. Operators do that just works. Try that with a router that's got IP on it, and you can't achieve the same results with the same sorts of tool sets, and that makes it very hard to fault find, to describe faults or root cause find problems that you've got to solve.
Yeah, that's interesting. Mandeep, you talked about software.
Yes.
We are seeing media companies increasingly focusing on software development and sometimes doing software development by themselves as well. Do you see them still requiring the specialist media services that you provide?
Absolutely. Yeah. You can't survive without that, right? It's a convergence between traditional broadcast skills and modern software development skills, right? The problem we have, I say problem, the challenge we have is we're up against the likes of Facebook, Google, and Amazon, right? They attract the best talent. So how do we as Deluxe or as a media company attract the best developers, the best testers, QA engineers, And I think we're in a unique position because we work, we're based in Hollywood, we deal with a lot of big clients, right, a lot of studios, and that kind of helps bridge that gap a little bit, right? But also the technologies we're using, these are advanced technologies, they're interesting technologies. We're working a lot of on AI and machine learning, right? I think that helps. So,
yeah, that's great. And Saleha, what do you think about these transition to software development.
I agree entirely. I mean, it's something we're finding clients, they can try and do it themselves, and it can be a very costly mistake.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't a new thing. I think the speed at which they need to be able to deliver these services and bring their own content to market is so fast that if they're not in a position to just do that, it can be very, very expensive and a very expensive mistake, not just financially, but in time as well. So I think it's what we're seeing is, they need the expertise to do that in an agile environment.
Yeah.
You can't just kind of, we'll try this and then hopefully we'll get it out there. You've got a movie premiere or you've got a launch of a program series. It has got to go and be on that date and work. And you're not in a position where you can play with it as you could do in a linear sort of TV broadcast film environment that you could a few years ago.
Yeah, and something we heard today as well, does it on propensity to build technology in-house does it depend on the size of the customers as well? So the smaller players are less likely to do so. What do you think about this?
No, I don't think so. I think it just depends on what your business need is and what problem or idea you're trying to sell or solve. Right?
Yeah.
I know plenty of small companies who are doing great things, and they've got a very small development team, but they're doing really well because they actually, like you said, work in that agile fashion where speed is the key to marketing. And I keep using AWS as an example, but they do set the benchmark, right? They do, I don't know how many releases a day with new features or products. And we kind of have to meet that because that's what our customers want, right? We're not stuck by any limitations on heavy infrastructure anymore. Right? We can launch a new service or a new product because AWS enables us to do that, right? So we kind of have to keep up with that demand.
Yeah.
The industry is littered with success stories, though, of customers that have taken a problem that they see as too large for a single vendor to solve, and rather than take it outside to an integrator, they prefer to write the software, build the hardware, create the solution themselves. There's a couple of they're larger content aggregators for sure, financial based perhaps in the financial industry, but they have enough talent on board to completely build an automation system, and it does exactly what they want. So there are some success stories wrapped around this as well, where they have homegrown systems that are perfect for what they do because it's only good for them.
Yeah.
That's not to say that you can take it out and use it in a different environment. It functions for their environment.
Yeah.
So it's custom.
Yeah, that's interesting. So also system integration, and we are seeing on system integration, to pick up on that, we are seeing a move towards more IT-centric integration, more IT-centric consulting as well. Saleha, what's your view on this?
So I think that, from the Cognizant perspective, I mean, we've come from an IT sort of background, and what we are, the value that our clients is now looking at is looking at it from a consulting perspective of when I'm going to build something or my architecture that's going to deliver whatever it might be, how quickly can I do that? How much is it going to cost me? And how am I using that strategically? And so it's that blend of vision, strategy, ROI, combined with the technology to deliver that. And if you are able to operate at that business level and have that point of view, as well as the operations to deliver that, and then build the platform that supports that, that's when you have a cohesive digital transformation strategy, particularly in IP.
Yeah. And the cloud.
Exactly.
And the cloud as well.
Yeah.
And you mentioned, Mandeep, the cloud as well. Do you see that growing significantly in the industry?
Yes, I think so. I don't see how that's going to stop or change at any point. We just have to kind of keep up with it.
And what we heard a lot today on the cloud is that a concern for some media companies remains security for a lot of them. And that's surprising as well, given the level of investment of cloud service providers in security. What do you think about this, Martin?
Well, I mean, I recognize the concern.
Yeah.
I sometimes wonder whether it's truly a security concern or whether it's more about I don't want my media in some nebulous environment that I have essentially no control over. and we've all heard about the internet failures that could essentially take networks off air on the East Coast, off the West Coast, for protracted periods of time.
Yeah.
There's nothing that stops us today building an on-prem cloud if people are happier with that sort of arrangement.
Yeah.
The humans are still abstracted from the physical hardware.
Yeah.
The software, it runs in VMs and it runs containerized versions. So you're just taking one step away from a fully cloud-based environment, and perhaps that's still a couple of years away to be, we'll call it mainstream.
Yeah.
But there are plenty of success stories wrapped around Discovery dropping channels out of the cloud. They've been doing it reliably 24 by 365. I'm working with a POC with a customer who now wants to put their playout system in the cloud. It's proving to be technically challenging, but it's certainly not beyond the wit of engineering to solve those sorts of problems.
Yeah, thanks for that. And Saleha, what's your view on the cloud? How are your customers leveraging the business benefits of the cloud?
So I think it depends on which end of the sort of broadcast and entertainment scale that you're looking at. I mean, I agree entirely with my colleagues here. You have the traditional broadcasters who they're still a little bit scared of the cloud. It's like, my content is going up there, my dailies are going up there, my rushes, etc. When actually, you know what, they were stuck in a box underneath the desk, for 3 weeks, and they, what's the difference? But I think that's a psychological leap that some of the more traditional broadcasters still need to make.
Okay.
I think more of the sort of OTT and the digital natives within the industry, they just expect this because they just want things to happen. So they grew up in this environment expecting it goes off somewhere. And I think it's, it makes me smile because, I'm back, I'm a BBC girl, born and bred. And I remember just reels of tapes as they were then. And nobody could find anything. At least, the education around this, I think, is even if it's an on-prem cloud or it's, a removed situation, you actually can find this and the speed of storage, acquisition, accessibility is so much quicker. So it's a mindset thing, I think, depending on where you are in the industry. But if you don't grasp it, then you're going to be too slow to get your content. And these younger companies and OTT companies and brands who are using their own content directly to your audience, they're not even going to come to the television companies to do because they're just going to do it themselves in the cloud and get it out there.
Netflix model is
Completely.
absolutely correct.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's a mentality thing, right? Particularly, maybe 18 to 2 years ago, right? Why do we need to shift to the cloud, right? I need to access my content. Well, actually, if it's on the cloud, not only is it secure, but you can access it so easily, right? We deal with a lot of data transfer, a lot of media transfer. So can you imagine distributing tapes from, let's say, USA to England? It's, it's expensive, it's difficult, and is it really safe? I don't think so.
You should never underestimate the bandwidth of a FedEx truck, though. It's, but I mean, I think there's still a pricing model that is not fully understood about. Let's call them broadcast operations from the cloud. The current models seem to be it costs you nothing to ingress, and then there's a charge per bit for egress. And if you're going to run 60 channels, 24 by 365. In an unknown pricing model, I think this is stuff that we need to clarify. And I think it's okay I certainly understand that if we were running evergreen material in the event of a catastrophic failure, then evergreen material could come from the cloud, unless I'm unsure of the business model that provides the positive reinforcement of let's run 24 by 365 multi-channels. Certainly technically we could build a broadcast playout system in the cloud, for sure. Branded, graphics, the whole thing. Automation, the whole thing. I'd like to understand the pricing model. That's one of my tasks.
Interesting point.
Pricing model.
Interesting point. Let's jump to another technology, Mandeep. What about AI? How do you see adoption of AI and the broadcast and media industry leveraging this?
So AI is something that we are actively involved in at Deluxe. So actually at NAB, we've announced a bunch of AI initiatives we're working on. So one of them is, and this is all patented as well, right? So we deal with lots of media, lots of video files. How can we use AI to basically improve the efficiencies in our workflows, right? So when a piece of media comes in, we digitally fingerprint it so that we can easily identify what that piece of content is, what version it is, right? And also audio conformity checks, right? So let's say you've got your audio track, then you've got a secondary audio track. How do we make sure that's in sync, right? Previously that had to be loaded up in an editing suite. Someone's going through that. It takes half an hour of your time.
Sure.
With AI or machine learning, you can really improve that process, make your workflow so efficient. So that half an hour process is now done in 10 seconds, right? So these kinds of efficiencies are then passed on to the consumer because we can deliver these workflows a lot more quickly. Right?
Interesting. Saleha, Martin, if you want to chip in on AI as well.
Well, yes, from a slightly different angle, but similar. Using a form of intelligent analysis, you can look at channels that are playing. Eventually, I think we'll be able to learn from a playing channel that every 22 minutes involves a break. And at that break, there may be some SCTI triggers that can trigger external devices to do things, local ad inserts and things like that. I think it's certainly possible for a system to learn that every 22 minutes there is a commercial break, and then perhaps what happens if we don't see the signals to that the local ad inserts are missing.
Yeah.
So perhaps there's a sort of a reverse piece of technology that we can use AI to make decisions based upon the norms or what's expected.
Yeah.
We certainly tried to understand an automated version of what's playing. Is it cartoons? Is it news, standing heads rather than things like that? And you could certainly recognise inappropriate material on a children's channel, for example. Unfortunately, pornography is very close to cartoons when you examine it from a constant audio, constant video sort of method. So it needs a bit more training for sure.
The data is important.
Indeed.
So you wanted to add something?
Yes, I think that there's two sides to this from the AI side. There is obviously understanding the content in terms of what you're putting out there and the stories and the programming behind that, and being able to produce that in a much more efficient way. And then, of course, the monetization is the ad tech side. And we're doing a lot of work with some really big advertising groups who are looking at using AI to then look at their graphics and video insertion of ads and speeding that process up so that not only do they then understand what they are choosing to put out in terms of inventory, they're then able to look at the business model around that as well. So if you are a broadcaster or a platform that has an inventory service for advertising, and let's say you've got some spare space and there's some slack in there, AI can be really quick at finding the right kind of ads associated to not only the program that it's following or coming into the ad break behind, but really creating a business model that monetizes that content because it can recognize it so much faster and then deliver that in a much more efficient way.
Yeah.
It's sort of an interesting approach in as much as if you're looking at OTT style services, you know who's connected.
Yeah.
You know something about who's watching. That means that with some smart thinking, you could actually create a situation where you're loading a different advert set to allow automation right up to the last moment to deliver targeted ads to people.
We're doing that. One of the examples that we give as a very extreme retail shopping environment is Black Friday. So we were able to say, okay, this is in an OTT environment, this is who is connected and looking at this type of content. And also, this is what they might be looking at the same time on another device in terms of they're doing doing their shopping, etc. And you're able to then start pushing personalized ads to both the time, the behavior, and the programming that's happening around that. And suddenly you're seeing immediate real-time decision making around the ad properties and the pricing of both that inventory as well as the personalization of that ad content. And that's all based on our AI capabilities.
Yeah, and we talk a lot about new technologies such as the cloud and AI. Are you helping, Mandeep, are you helping your customers managing that skills transition as well towards more a software IT-centric approach?
Yeah, we are. You know, a lot of the customers or new customers we deal with, you know, we're trying to transition them into a more automated place, right?
Yeah.
So less emails, less spreadsheets, less phone calls to place orders. Use the system, right? If we have their system talking to our system over an API, perfect, right? In an ideal world, of course. So yes, we do offer these services, and quite often when we meet with clients, you know, we consult with them, we work out what's the best way forward now, and then how can we actually bridge that gap, right? What can we do in the interim so that when they are ready, right? Because not everyone is ready to move to an automated model.
Yeah.
So we give them an interim solution, and then how do we bridge that gap so, you know, 6 months down the line, a year down the line, they're ready to offer fully automated service.
Yeah, interesting. Saleha?
For me, it's you bring in the graduates. Right?
Yeah.
We have an
New
amazing graduate program. I mean, that's not entirely true, but I love the graduates because they just want to play, and they just break it, make it, take it, and it's you know amazing. So I think I agree entirely with Mandeep. It is around automation and efficiency in the first place, and just making it as easy as possible from a solution perspective. But in terms of the sort of next innovation and the sort of talent behind that, you know, bring in the young uns because they're hungry to just play with it in a way that is on a whole different spectrum to I think my generation and you know previous generations before me.
New generation there. Martin?
Certainly the young people can change our outlook on the way things should work. Unfortunately, in a real-time environment, there isn't much time to play necessarily. But we've got to, if we're going to develop the infrastructure that delivers the new media over the new transport mechanism, we've got to support the mechanism by which we do that, and that means that nothing against tape ops. I've worked with many of them, but they're very used to going destination 3, source 1, take.
Yeah.
And then looking at pictures, they automatically populate on a router, and it populates a monitor, populates a scope. That's very difficult to do in the IT domain today.
Yeah.
We can't teach the tape ops to go, I need 192.168.100.06. Oh no, I don't. That's the video. I need the audio associated with that. To get that to populate a scope, to get that to populate a monitor, to ease fault finding and moving forward, that's a lot of work that we're still embarked upon. We can create pictures, we can pick the pictures of, but actually understanding what's deeper behind the network. Where am I dropping packets?
Yeah.
Which router is dropping packets? In the multicast domain, you can pull out a plug and fix a problem. This is not root cause analysis. If you get in the SDI domain, you can't work. That doesn't work like that. You put a plug in, you see it on a scope, you see it on a monitor. It just works.
Yeah.
And I really don't want to appear like a Luddite. I don't. But I have a sneaky feeling, and this is my opinion, not the opinion of my employer. Let's be clear about that. But I suspect 2110 is a solution looking for a problem. Okay. I think we've got to adopt the transport, for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't know that it's... I don't yet have the nice, warm, cozy feeling that I do about SDI.
Yeah.
SDI has also never been hacked.
Yeah.
So
Heard that a lot.
we're not there yet. That's all I'm saying. I agree about the young people, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely, for sure.
Yeah, so still coming back on the security subject as well. Yeah, so let me ask you a final question to all of you, starting from Mandeep. What's coming next in support technology, and what's your company planning for the long term?
What's coming next? I don't know, but what I would like to see is, you know, the way we handle support at the moment is very reactive, right? There's all sorts of tools, all sorts of monitoring available. We can watch signals, we can get a lot of data, but it's reactive. When something goes wrong, then we do something, right? why not be proactive? We get all this data. Can we use some sort of AI or machine learning to actually predict an error or a fault before it actually occurs?
Yeah.
Right? I don't think we're far away.
So still focus on data.
Exactly. Yeah.
Saleha?
Yeah, I agree entirely. I think it's leveraging the data to make decisions, intelligent decisions, and as you say, being proactive in that as part of a strategy rather than reactive. And whether that is within our own internal organizations or whether that's with media and entertainment companies that are pushing more and more content and moving more content around, the risk of potential issues obviously goes up. And data and the use of that data in a proactive way is just I think a real trick that we're maybe missing at the moment. We're reacting with that. We're looking at it and sort of going, okay, now let's do this, rather than let's do something up front and much more proactive in a exciting way rather than just waiting for something to go wrong.
Thanks for that, Martin?
I mean, I think in some environments we have some controls over some things. We can in a large disk system, we can very quickly work out that one of the disks is not behaving in the way that perhaps the others are. And that's very straightforward. With a disk hospital, you can say, take that one offline. Use the others to create that. I think that does address some of this sort of proactivity, but it's a bit limited in as much as it's only based upon disks at this point. Spinning disks at this point, even SSDs don't behave in the same way. But I think looking at the data that's available on a 2110 network, looking at the routers, understanding that, having an understanding of what's going on, being predictive about where I'm losing packets, I think it sort of gets you a bit farther to the idea that there is something happening on the network that I'm not clear about. It may be being covered up by forward error correction or some other method, but actually we need to understand that when something is being cut, when it's being concealed, rather than when we've got a problem, because you reach the digital cliff, and when it goes wrong, it falls apart, and that's when we get into the when we get into the reactive mode of fixing something, trying to address something in a hurry, when we could have maybe seen it coming. We have some technologies that allow us to recover 50% packet loss over a dirty network, over a non-managed network. But actually, perhaps we need to understand when we're asking how many NACs are going back to say, I need those packets again, because we're reaching the edge, and at some point it breaks. 50% packet loss, it's broken. So these things are important to feed that into a centralized, unified system that can address the pictures, address the sound, address the metadata, and maybe even test the network, flood the network in a safe environment. There's some good tools around, they're just not integrated fully yet.
Okay, interesting. And thank you very much for all these interesting insights. For more information, please visit the IABM website. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pleasure.